Now let's take a look at representing integers. So we're going to use integers to represent different real-world applications and words. So we have things that are negative, the opposite, and we have things that are positive. Okay, so remembering that negative means the opposite of a positive. So on this chart, we've got a lot of words that you're going to see, and we have them paired with their opposite. So below is the opposite of above. Withdrawal is the opposite of deposit. Loss is the opposite of gain. And then for a couple of these words that maybe you don't know, we put a little definition underneath it. So withdraw means to take money out of a bank account, right? And that's why, because specifically it has that you are taking it out, okay? Versus deposit is you're putting money in the bank account, okay? Profit or income is money that you've earned or received. Depth is the distance from the top of the surface to its bottom, going down like the depth of the ocean. Versus altitude is the height of an object in relation to the ground, okay? So let's look at some of these examples here. So number one, a hiker climbs 900 feet. I'm just gonna circle my number here. Up a mountain. Okay, write an integer to represent the situation. So I'm just gonna cut out the chart here so we can use it while we're working. I see, the key word that I see here is the word up. Okay, so it climbs 900 feet up a mountain, and I see up here on my positive side. So up is representing positive value. So our 900 should be positive. I don't need to write a plus sign when I'm writing positive, so my integer is just 900. That's showing positive 900. Then it says, what word is the opposite of the keyword? So I'm looking at up. The opposite of the keyword is down, right? So the opposite of the keyword is down. So when we're talking about zero and what it might mean in this situation, so someone's climbing up a mountain, well, zero means, and I'm just going to use my two words, up and down. He didn't move up or down. That's all you have to say. You're just showing. What does it mean? Well, I'm using my opposite words. He didn't go up or down. Or stayed in the same spot would also work. Number two, you have a debt of $24. Write an integer to represent the situation. So I see the word debt. I'm looking on my chart here, and I see the word debt right here. So debt, I'm going to highlight because it's a negative, right? So that means my integer for 24, I don't need to put the dollars, I'm just putting negative 24. That is the integer that would represent debt. Then it asks again, what is the opposite? What word is the opposite of the keyword in this problem? So we've got debt, we've got profit or income. So either of those, maybe I write profit. Okay. What would a value of zero mean in this situation? So being in debt $24 means you owe $24. So zero would just mean, we could say not being in debt or having a profit, or you could just say not making any money. Right? If you have $0 coming in, you're not making any money. Okay, number three, a student loses 5 points for being late to class. And maybe sometimes you don't need to look at the chart, but we're just gonna look at it each time. I see loses, and I look on my chart, I see lose right here. So loses is on the negative side. So losing 5 points would be represented by -5 or -5. What is the opposite of the keyword? Maybe you know it. If not, okay, we have lose and we have the opposite of that as earn. Gain also would work. So the opposite word is earn. So we lost 5 points. The opposite of that would be to earn. So what would a value of 0 mean in this situation? It could say they didn't lose or earn points. So literally just using my opposites, just like I did above. They didn't move up or down. They didn't lose or earn points. Number 4, a savings account earns $10. Write an integer to represent the situation. I see the word earns. I'm going to check on here. We already just did earn. So I see earn. I already highlighted in green because it was positive. So I'm going to highlight that over here. It says write an integer to represent the situation. So a savings account earns $10. It's positive. I'm just writing that as 10. I don't need to put a plus. What is the opposite of the keyword? Well, looking at our chart, the opposite of earn is to lose. So what would 0 mean in this situation? Well, we can just use those opposites. The account didn't earn or lose money. Okay? Or we could just say the account stayed at the same value, right? It didn't go up or down. A couple different ways that you could say it. Okay. Number 5. Mr. Bunsen went to the bank and withdrew $200 from his bank account. So this one's a little bit different, okay? But I see my keyword, I see withdrew, and I see withdrawal. That's the same thing, it's just kind of the past tense. And that's negative, okay? So withdraw is a negative value. So here's what we have to think about. Withdraw means you're taking money out of your bank account, okay? So what integer represents a change in the amount of the bank account? Well, you're taking it out of your account, so your account's going down. That is a negative value. But sometimes people get mixed up with this question because they're like, well, I took the money out and now I have $200. So we have the second question here. What integer represents the change in the amount of money in his wallet? Well, his wallet increased. He got a positive value. Now he has more money in his wallet. His account went down, but in the actual wallet, his wallet went up. So what is the opposite of our keyword? Well, our keyword is withdraw. Opposite of that would be deposit. So what would a value of 0 mean? It would just mean he didn't withdraw or deposit money. Or same thing, just like I've been saying for all of them, you could just say that his account value stayed the same. Number 6, Ashley's grade decreased 7 points. Write an integer to represent the situation. So right by 7, I see the word decreased. I see on my chart, the word decrease is a negative. Decrease means to go down. So, negative means negative, or down, decrease is negative, so it's going to be -7 for our integer. What is the opposite of the key word? Well, the opposite of decrease would be increase. So what would a value of 0 mean in this situation? Well, we could just use those opposites. Her grade didn't increase or decrease. Or just like I've been saying, her grade stayed the same. Didn't go up, it didn't go down. Didn't increase, didn't decrease. A couple different ways you could word it. Number 7, the level of water in the pool fell 3 inches. Write an integer to represent this situation. So I see the word fell. we don't have fell, but we have fall, and they are basically the same thing, just different tenses. So fell is going to be our negative value, so falling 3 inches would be -3. What is the opposite of the keyword? Well, I look at fall. The opposite of falling is rising. So rise is our opposite word. So what would a value of 0 mean in this situation? I'm going to use my opposites. The water didn't fall or rise. Or again, the water level stayed the same. Bradley gained 3 pounds this week. Write an integer to represent the situation. So looking at my chart, I see the word gain and gained. Those are just different tenses. So gain is on our positive side. So he gained 3 pounds this week. I mean, he went +3. We're just writing that as +3, as 3. What is the opposite of the keyword? Well, the opposite of gain is loss. So what would a value of 0 mean in the situation? I'm going to use my opposite. He didn't gain or lose weight. Or his weight stayed the same. Okay, and then looking at 2 scenarios where maybe we don't use the opposites. We don't have to use he didn't go up or down, he didn't increase or decrease, he didn't gain or lose. There's some situations where there's kind of a real world application of 0. So first example, at the beach, John saw a bird flying at 50 feet in the air and a fish swimming 5 feet below 0, okay? So the bird, maybe I'm drawing a bird up here, is at 50 feet in the air. That is going to be +50. It's up in the air above the ground, positive value. Versus a fish, okay, and let's say this is our water level at 0, okay? Our fish is below, so I'm gonna draw a little fish, okay? He is below the sea at -5. It's under the water, negative value. So what does 0 represent? Well, I kind of drew little water lines there, right? So we're talking about the water level or the sea level, because below sea level versus above sea level. So 0 is literally just that water level. So it's at sea level. That is the real world application. So when we're talking about water, we can say, what does 0 mean? It's at sea level or on the water. Not in the water, not above the water, on the water, at the sea level. Another example, Tom works on the 4th floor of his building. When he drives to work, he parks his car in the parking garage, which is 2 floors below ground. So 2 parts. His building, right, so we got the ground here, is at 4 above. That's where he works. Okay, I'm gonna draw Tom. Okay? His car is 2 floors below the ground, so it's under the ground. At -2 is his car. Okay. So for his office, he's above ground, so he's at a positive value. His car is below ground, so it's at a negative value. And then what does 0 represent? Well, this time we're not talking about sea level, we're talking about the ground. So 0 is just ground level. Or you could just say on the ground. So we have scenarios when we're representing 0 and we're using opposites. He didn't gain or lose, didn't fall or rise. And then we have kind of 2 scenarios where if we're talking about the ground, 0 can just mean the ground level. If we're talking about the sea or water, it could just be sea level.